Yeah. Oh, can you fill me in? Let's talk about it.
Would it just be bread and jam?
No, that's silly, isn't it? It needs to be wetter than that.
What about peanut butter? Is there anything you would put on toast without butter?
Peanut butter, Nutella.
Ooh, that could be a good shout.
Yeah, you can't have butter in Nutella,
I don't know.
can you? Although the salt and the sweet would be nice. The combo.
Which is
Like the salty butter.
butter salty?
Lurpak is.
Is it?
Yeah. Unless you get unsalted, but I don't see the point in that. Like,
Is it naturally salty?
I think so. I don't know.
Okay.
It's just delicious.
Lurpak's delicious.
Yeah.
Do you? What if you went? Like I'm like this with Tetley's. What if you went to someone's house and they said, "Do you want some toast?" And they said, "But I ain't got Lurpak. I can't believe it's not butter."
Do you know? Oh, that is rubbish, that stuff. It needs to be, the paler, the better. It can't be Marge. Like, today was fake Lurpak off of Tesco's that my
Right.
mum gets. And it's called, like, something else pack, like True Pack or something.
Oh, so it's not a completely different. They've tried to sort of.
The fakes it, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Fake
Aldi
Lurpak.
do that as well. Sorry, not sponsored by Aldi or Tesco.
Or Lurpak.
Or True Pack, whatever they are.
So if I buttered 2 pieces of toast, one with
I'd
Lurpak,
be able to tell.
do you reckon?
I think so.
I don't like drinking tea unless it's Tetley's.
Yeah. Yorkshire tea? No.
No, definitely Tetley's.
Joking.
And then people think it's weird. It's just what we've always had. And when you say you can tell a difference, like you can't. Oh, but you can. You can tell a difference.
You can.
So how long have you supported Leeds Rhinos?
Yeah, I'm a really big fan. I especially,
Who's your favourite player?
Especially love that one that runs really fast,
Oh yeah.
catches the ball.
Oh yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
They go over that line.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm starting to feel like maybe you're not much of a Leeds Rhinos fan. So do you want to tell us?
Do you want me to explain the shirt?
Do you want to tell us why you sat wearing?
A skirt and a Leeds Rhinos top.
Yeah.
Because I gesture, and I'm really holding back at the moment with my gesturing. I gesture very heavily when I'm speaking, and I was teaching a lesson. I teach English, and I was teaching a GCSE lesson. I was talking very, enthusiastically about Jekyll and Hyde, and I had a coffee, and I knocked it everywhere, and it went.
So this was about 20 minutes ago.
Yes, all the way down my shirt, all the way down my skirt, which is still soaking, and somehow landed on my face, my forehead, the end of my nose, the floor.
So the thing is, you're doing a lesson on Zoom, you're gesturing, but your camera's turned off. So the gesturing's definitely wasted.
Redundant, yeah.
So luckily today I'm doing another interview this evening with Andy McVeigh, the Burley Banksy. So I thought I'd bring a change of top.
Yeah.
And the change of top is the one that you're wearing, which I'm guessing you're obviously going to need to go home in.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So what I might do is just sweat it out in this T-shirt a bit and then say we're going to have to swap. And then send you home in my
Send me home in that
sweaty...
thing. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No. It's just, it's just a bit girly for me, that colour.
Wow, okay. We were talking about how feminine you are before we started as well, didn't we?
Oh, feminine, I am not.
How feminine you are and...
Yes. I am. Hey, I put a skirt on today and I'm wearing lipstick, so...
Yeah, this is probably the most girly I've seen you.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably is. Like, I had really short hair when you first met me as well.
Yes. So when we first met, you were... The first time you tried to be a comedian.
Tried, yeah, failed.
Yeah? I
Miserably.
feel like it went okay. Like it wasn't like I'm just going to get up and tell jokes that I've written with a punchline.
No.
You were just talking about some of the ridiculous stuff that's happened in your life.
Silly stories.
And it was
Very silly.
it was genuinely it was really, really good.
Thank you. I remember you approaching me and then telling me you had a friend who did comedy, and then that's how I got into actually doing it that way.
Because you went to, it was at the Woodhouse place.
The pub.
Katrina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just literally stood up and told a story, didn't I, on stage, and you approached me like, I know someone you'd get along with.
I'm not sure if we could tell some of those stories.
No, probably not appropriate, but really
So-
silly.
It was good though. And so what did you go on to do? So did you perform quite often?
Yeah, so when you introduced me to Kat, she did like every Sunday of the month, I think, not every Sunday of the month, every final Sunday of the month or something like that, or third Sunday. And then I became like a named performer, I guess.
Wow.
I was on the posters and everything.
Yeah. Do you remember getting on the poster for the first time?
Yeah, I was really scared. I was like, oh my god, my name's in the first time.
It's exactly how I was. Anytime when I see it, I'm like, check me out on a poster.
So good. The fact that like on, people are reading it and saying, I'm going to watch these people. So someone would say they were going to watch and then say my name. I'd be like, oh my god, that person's coming to watch me.
Me?
I know.
Yeah.
It was great. I got free beers out of it as well. So
Did you?
I did. It was.
I don't feel like I've ever
great.
had free drinks.
Yeah.
It's probably because the stories you tell are always about you being drunk. So the people
People
behind
just
the bar are just
assume.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, could be in for a chance of like one."
Oh well, hopefully. That's not what people were thinking, and thankfully no one said that.
Denying that that's what your stories were about.
Absolutely.
Just not that's what people were thinking.
You're just putting words in my mouth now.
I feel like you pushed back on the wrong bit there.
Someone did approach me though and say, "So, what kind of girl are you then at the bar?" And I was like, "Mate, you're barking up the wrong tree here." Like, I was just telling funny stories, and people just like then latched on to that. Like,
So, a percent from 0 to 100, how much of it was true?
all of them, the stories were true.
Right.
So 100.
Yeah.
That's the grass.
I know you're an English teacher, not a maths teacher. I'll let that one
One,
go.
2, to 100. The stories were true, but it was basically how I was kind of struggling through life, like my 20s, and I was like, is this what it's supposed to be? Is this how you're supposed to act in your 20s? Like, you're supposed to get drunk all the time, you're supposed to go travelling. Like, I felt a lot of pressure to go and do all these things, and I felt embarrassed about some of the things that had happened to me, so I thought if I wrote about them, then I would reclaim that, if that makes sense, and make them my stories instead of like an embarrassing thing that someone else told their friends or whatever.
Okay.
So
you just accept that walk of shame and you own it, and then no one can post pictures and embarrass you because
yeah, well,
you've put
hopefully
them
no
out
one
there
took any
first.
pictures of me, but I think I've cut, like, obviously, like, through lockdown and COVID, I've done a lot of self-reflection and a lot of thinking about, like, all the silly drunken things that I did. And it just felt like I was in a dark tunnel, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I had proper blinkers on. I was really unhappy. Like, I was doing all these things because I was really unhappy, and I was like, I need to find some release somewhere. I need to find some excitement, or I need to find something. And I wasn't enjoying any of the things that I was doing. I didn't have any fun. Like, obviously the being drunk thing was all very, I don't know. Exciting is probably the wrong word because it was happening too often to be exciting. Do you know what I mean? But I was really lost. And I was just doing silly things so I could write about it and then make someone laugh, I guess.
You were doing silly things so then you could write about it? Or you were writing about silly things that you did?
I think it started off being writing about the silly things that I did.
Yeah.
But then, because I knew that they sounded funny, I was like, right,
Okay.
I can find more stuff to write
Yeah.
about now. And I've since reflected on that and been like, oh, poor me, I was so unhappy. Like, I just wanted someone to laugh at me. I just wanted to bring joy to other people because I was so sad.
I think that's a common thread for comedians.
Yeah.
Is it Kevin Hart did one called Laugh at My Pain?
Was that? Yes. Was it a Netflix one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's quite a common thread of, I mean, he cheated on his wife and did all sorts of things, and then his way of dealing with it was to write a show about it.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't know how she'd feel about that.
I know, it's awful, isn't it? Like,
Have you ever been worried about talking about somebody and them either finding out or being there?
yeah.
Not enough to not do it.
I think the people that I wrote about, they were all like people that I'd never see again.
Yeah.
So, and people who I didn't respect because they didn't respect me. And I
Okay.
think, like, a lot of the reason that I wrote about it was because, like, okay, I didn't like what happened there. That person wasn't very nice. I'm going to write about it and explain how I feel, but in a funny way.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wrote about was really, it came across as like, oh, how silly am I? How stupid was this? You know, I got drunk and did this and this. But the reality of it was, like, I woke up in a place that I couldn't remember getting to, and with a person that I didn't remember meeting, and I was like completely confused. I had no idea where in the world I was. I was in Leeds. I was in Headingley, but I'd never been to Headingley at this point. So I just didn't know, and it was really scary. But I was so embarrassed that it had happened because I had assumed, like many girls do, I'd just been so drunk that it had happened, and you feel that shame, like you said, the walk of shame sort of thing. So I took it to the I wrote about it and then took it to the stage to be like, I had this horrible walk of shame. Oh, silly of me! Like, ha ha ha! Everyone laugh, please. Deep down, I was like, that really wasn't okay. Like what that person did, I obviously wasn't in the right state to be going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that for me was like, I didn't like what that person did, so I don't mind talking about him on stage because he just did all that to me without me even being conscious, I guess, or like aware of what was happening. So, but obviously I didn't know his full name, so there was no way that anybody could find out who he was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'd never do anything, and talk about someone.
And was the realisation of what had happened after you'd wrote about it and started performing, did that help you realise?
Do you know what? I didn't even realise really that that's what it was until maybe like a year later. So like I'd written it. No, it happened in like 2012. I'd written it in 2014 and I performed it in 2017. And it
Right.
wasn't until 2018 that I looked back on it and was like, whoa, that's not all right. That, I saw something on TV and I was like, hey, I can relate to that. That's not okay. And that's what happened to me. So that's not okay. So at first it was a silly like story, and it was an embarrassing story that I wanted to kind of get out my system just so I could be like, it didn't sit right with me the entire time since it happened, but I carried a bit of shame with me about it. So I was like, just write about it and then I'll talk about it and then it'll be gone. But I never dealt with the emotional stress that came with it, I guess. Like, it was a little bit like having PTSD. And it all came flooding back, like, 2018. And then I was like, I need to get some help here. Like, I was inconsolable, like, crying, like, when I realised what had happened. And I was really upset, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I sought some counselling, and I had counselling for, like, 7 months. And it took that long for me to like start piecing things together.
Did that bring back any of the details?
Yeah, but then I was so aware that I was in counselling and that if you say what they want you to say, they'll probably like think that you're better quicker than you are. So like I wanted it to be over. I didn't want to have to be in counselling for that long. I wanted to be like, I'm going to have counselling and that will be my healing and then I will move on. Like, and it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
Like you can't just think that that's going to help. So if you don't engage with it fully, you're never going to work through it properly. So when I called this counsellor and I was like, these are my issues. And she was like, yeah, I can definitely help you with that. Like, we'll have an appointment. We had an appointment and then I started talking about completely like irrelevant things and things that weren't in any way linked to that. So then after like 7 months of this counselling, she said, yeah, you seem a lot better. But actually, I'd worked through a lot of other issues, but the issue that I'd initially like sought counselling for was not even touched upon. So then in lockdown this year, like 2 years after I'd started it initially, or like a year and a half at least, it came flooding back again because I'd not worked through it. So I got back in touch with her and I was like, listen, I know that the counselling before really helped, but I wasn't actually honest with you as much as I should have been, and it's detrimental to me and my mental health because like I'm in the same place as I was before. So then we had maybe 3 or 4 more sessions over lockdown, and I really got everything out, and I kind of got it all out. And then she asked me to write a letter to this person and to other people that I'd felt like disrespected by, and I did. It was really deep and like hurtful to write, but kind of a release at the same time. And I'm so much better now. Like all the things that I did in my mid-20s had started that night. So the night that happened, that initial kind of experience with this person, that made me feel tiny as a person. I felt terrible about myself. And so that sent me on a massive spiral of self-destruction. So I just got drunk all the time, ended up in random places with people who just completely didn't respect me. And I just let them do whatever and treat me terribly. And then, so that happened all the way through up until, 2015 when I come back from travelling and stuff. So like 3 years of like self-destruction really. And if I look back on it now, I just don't see the same person. Like I'm a completely different person. I feel whole. I feel like wholesome.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I feel really contented and stuff like that. I've moved through all my problems, and I'm embarrassed at that, but I feel sorry for her. Like, and I want to like give her a cuddle and be like, it's okay. But I wouldn't probably be as kind of together as I am now if that hadn't happened.
If it weren't for that.
And I would hate anybody to have to go through that. But it happens, and you've just got to know that there's a better way to deal with problems. You can't just like push it down and then let the world. I was kind of letting fate just take me somewhere, or do you know what I mean? And I kind of. It's like I was on a bicycle and I just like let both hands off, and I was like,
Let's just see where we end up.
See what happens. Yeah. I like, booked a one-way ticket to Australia, sold my car, quit my job, like lived out there for a year, like did ridiculous things.
Wow.
Yeah, I really didn't think about any of the consequences. Like I went to learn surfing on a 5-day surf camp, and then they said, do you want to be a photographer? We've got a position. Yeah. And just like stayed there for a month and like lived on a farm with a stranger for 3 months in the middle of nowhere.
Trying to make this sound like it was bad, but that sounds amazing.
I know it does. And like some of the things people are like, that sounds so good. I'm like, yeah, it was. But I was being so reckless with my life.
Yeah.
I found an ad on Gumtree for a nanny, for like an au pair in the middle of, it's like Wolf Creek. And I went and I spent 3 months there. And there was like a creepy farmer who touched me up and he was trying to like flirt with me, and then I obviously like rejected his advances, and his wife then hated me even though we'd had a good relationship before. He must have like got to her first before like I went and complained about him. So he completely turned her against me, so I had this horrible experience in the middle of nowhere, no Wi-Fi, no phone signal, everything. Like it was just so mad that I was choosing to just do all this stuff.
So me bringing you down into this basement obviously wasn't as scary as...
I've done worse.
What did you do with the letters after you wrote them?
They are on my laptop. I've done nothing.
Okay. No sort of print them out and burn them, no post them to an not unknown address, but like that final sort of, this is me delivering that particular thing.
The only thing I did do was I sent it to The Guardian because they do an open letter to whoever. So there's like loads of different articles, and it's like an open letter to the dad who abandoned me, or the open letter to my mum who cheated on my dad, or all these things.
What would the hook be?
Mine was an open letter to all the men who have hurt me, or some of the men that have hurt me. I can't remember. Must be some of. And I just sent it to the Guardian website email address and was like, I know you do an open letter. This is what I'd like to say. Like, I don't know how it works, but here it is. And then I heard nothing back. Like, I never got any response from them. So they have a very intimate, like, letter of mine, like, really personal. And I hope that, it doesn't fall into the wrong hands or whatever. But
So it was never published or anything?
no, not as far as I'm aware. Like, nobody sent me any confirmation that they'd read it or received it.
Maybe that guy works in the post room. And he's just like, not having this.
That's me.
Wow.
I know, yeah. So, but I feel so much better after, you know, working through it and stuff like that. And I think as well, like, this self-destruction as well, I could never get what I wanted from men because, like, I want, I don't know, real intimacy, I guess, and, like, every experience that I ever had with a man wasn't like that, and I don't know.
All right, chill out. Let's not tar all men with that brush.
Well, I've not like had any intimacy with you, have I?
I'm
So
not
I
saying
don't
just
know.
me. This isn't like I brought you on here to chat you up.
I know you haven't.
But like I don't know. There's some men that might have I don't know if I can be that intimate or what have you, but I'm saying there might be.
My experience, I'm not
Okay,
saying.
I'll let you off.
Yes, not
I just
about
I need to stick up for my brothers.
Stick up for all the men.
All the men.
Men's lives matter, man.
Yeah, I'll be getting shit from people after this. Why didn't you say it when she said that?
Straight white man feels hurt at his ego. I'm so sorry. Did I offend you?
Yes.
Oh no. I'm so
But I accept your apology. Let's just not let it happen again.
Let me clarify what I was saying. Me personally, I can never get what I want from a man because it's not what I don't feel a certain way. I think like there's a lack of intimacy, a lack of chemistry. Like I can look at a guy and go, oh, what a beautiful man. Like I can really appreciate his beauty. And obviously like I've had all these experiences in the past, but they all kind of led up to me realising that I could never get what I wanted out of him.
So when was this? When did you realise this? How long ago?
Oh, this has been like a lifelong.
Oh, okay.
This has been a lifelong thing, but social pressures have really they really affect me like massively. And I'm not saying that I've never had happy relationships with men because I have had a couple. But there's always something missing, do you know what I mean? But I never really knew what that was. But when I was at school, I was like not interested in boys, played football, like didn't wear makeup, didn't wear like all the girls weren't up to wear thongs and like have them halfway up their back showing and stuff like that. I was like, oh my god, it's so embarrassing, I'm not doing that. And I was in the like drama club and like I just wanted to be one of the lads and I like tried to shave a slit down my eyebrow and like in year 7, I know I've been growing these for 18 years. Because ever since year 7, I tried to put a slit in my eyebrow with my mum's Bic razor and it completely took half of it off. So I've never had any good eyebrows ever since. So this is a long time in the making, nearly 2 decades. And so like girls would bully me and call me a lesbian when I was like 14. And I'd be so embarrassed because I didn't know that that's what I was or if I was or any of those things because there was such a negative like press about it. There was never any women on telly that were in female relationships that like the only ones I saw.
How old were you? 14.
Yeah, Bad Girls. They're the only ones.
There was a girl on girl kiss in
Hollyoaks.
No, like
Brookside. Yes.
Yeah.
But I was too young when that came out.
That was like the first.
Yeah.
I think the first on-screen lesbian kiss.
Yeah,
like,
I know. Oh my god.
I know.
But this all manifested in different ways for me. It wasn't like I wasn't like looking at women and going, oh my god, like I want to go out with you. It wasn't like that. Different things happened to me. So I'd be like talking to an attractive girl and I'd feel like inferior to her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like want her to like me, but I didn't know why. I wasn't like, oh, it's because I fancy her. It wasn't like that. It was more like, I just feel like I want to do everything to make you happy. And, you know, like, but with men, I'd be like, oh, like, boys. But I made a huge thing out of chasing boys and stuff like that to overcompensate for it. Like, once I left school, I, like, joined a group of friends and then I had my first boyfriend and he was great. Like I had I had a really good relationship for the most part with him. But he was so funny, and I think that's why I went out with him, because he just made me laugh all the time. And with lads, I really love hanging out with them and having a laugh. I proper love laughing, and you know how much I love comedy and like being funny and meeting funny people. But I didn't realise that like what I was missing with that was like attraction and like looking at someone being like, oh my God, I just want to kiss you all the time. Like I've not really found that. I hadn't really found that until I realised that I fancied women this year.
So how old are you now?
29.
Wow.
I know. But obviously I knew I fancied women before this, but I've only really acted on it this year. In a sense that like I want to actually have relationships with women so yeah.
So what happens now? Because all of your stand-up stuff was about shitty men.
Yeah.
So are we going to move on to shitty women?
No, because I've not met any shitty women. I don't like. I'm having a really nice time with one particular woman, so I don't think there's any stories going to happen. And I wouldn't. Do you know what? As well, I realised that with women, I like them too much to write stories about. I would never want to embarrass a woman on stage ever.
Thanks for that.
I don't know what, and this is probably sexist of me to say that, because I'm always fighting for, you know, how feminism like affects men as well and how it's a positive thing, and like my experience with men as well, like I've never been that bothered about, not as bothered as I am now about hurting their feelings as much as I have been with women. I'm with women, like I think that's probably like a internalized, I don't know, it's not any sort of phobic, is it? Heterophobic, if that's a thing, or like manphobic. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I wouldn't like to embarrass a woman on stage because I know how it feels. Like,
what if she turns out to be a proper dick? Like, do you feel like you could do it then?
No, I just wouldn't.
What if she's got a best mate that's a dick, and then they fall out, and then they're not best mates anymore?
I think.
Could you then talk about a friend?
Nah, do you know what I think it's going to be? I think if I go back into comedy, it would be coming out comedy then, and it'd probably still be all the bad experiences and that led me into women. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's still going to be about like how funny stories about men, I guess, and how that's led me to where I am.
It works, though, doesn't it? When you're talking about men on stage, does that put men off trying to chat you up, or does it encourage them? Or do men feel threatened by like a funny...
Well, actually, I have... One guy found me really funny, so wanted to go out with me. One guy...
Nothing about the looks.
Yeah. Didn't fancy
all about
it.
the personality.
I had nothing much to work with at that point. I've grown my hair now.
To be at that point.
I'm wearing earrings today.
And a rhino shirt.
Imagine anybody coming up to me when I'm wearing this. So I got asked out at a comedy that I'd presented and performed at by a guy, and we went on a few dates. Lovely guy, nothing wrong to say about him. And then another guy approached me because he thought that because I was talking about experiences that I'd had on stage, it meant that he had a green light to approach me and like want to chat me up.
To contribute towards some of those experiences.
I think he wanted to be in the stories, yeah. And a few people I've had a couple of hecklers, not hecklers, but hecklers, like guys that have shouted like, "Wait, go on, lads!" Like from
I think we're not used to women being so open about stuff.
Yeah.
And it's nice to get sort of an insight into how a woman's mind potentially works. I'm not saying all women think the same, but you think of people like Amy Schumer, who is just that's her.
She is. Yeah.
She's just vulgar, and it's brilliant because it's like, women aren't supposed to do this.
That's why I love it, because Catherine Ryan as well. She's one of my favourites. I just find her so funny, and I'm like, that's why I felt that I could start standing up on stage and doing it, because I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
they can do it.
So why did it take so long? So 2014, you said you started writing stuff. And then when did we meet? When did I start?
17, I think.
2017.
Yeah. Because, so I'd written them when I was travelling in Australia. I was working on that farm actually at the time. I had a lot of downtime. So like writing these stories in my notes page on my phone. And then, so wrote them and then I sent them actually, I think I uploaded them onto a blog or something. And then under a pseudonym. And then a friend of mine read it and was like, oh, can I send this to a friend who's is like an editor on an online magazine? I was like, yeah, can do, like, go for it. So then he got in touch with me and was like, can you do a fortnightly column? And I was like, all right, yeah. Like, I didn't get any money for it. I was literally just traveling, so I was like, oh, fine. And sent them in, and they become like the second most shared article of the week or something like that. It became really...
Is this in the UK?
Popular, yeah.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, that's me. I wrote that. And then once I'd like run out of material and realised I'd had to...
Time to put the lipstick on and
yeah,
go meet some more dickheads.
I realised that I think I'd had like enough. I was like, I'm so tired. So then I stopped writing them, but then they were still online. And then a couple of years later, I was telling some friends who I lived with at the time, and they were like, oh, let's have a read. So I showed them, and they were like, they would work so well on stage. I was like, okay. Like,
had you done anything like that before?
I'd performed in plays and
because you
like,
do poetry, don't you?
Yeah, but poetry came after.
Right. Okay.
So because I wanted to, move away from that stuff, like that material. Like I feel like a different person now.
And you were completely inspired by all the poets you saw in Leeds, and
exactly,
obviously, yeah.
Just lead it right on to you, my friend. So that night, the night that I met you, this is how this came about. Is we're in All Bar One, me and my friends, and they were reading these articles, and they're like, they would sound so funny on stage. And we'd had a couple of 2-for-1s, and then after another porn star martini, I was like, let's go. So there's an open mic night at LS6 that night, and I turned up, put my name down, performed after you, maybe?
I think it was after me.
Yeah. And got a really good response. It was a room full of people I'd never met, obviously, and just read this story out. And got some proper laughs, and I was really like taken aback because I was a little bit drunk as well, so I was like, I'm not bothered, it's just a silly story. But I got a really positive response, and then obviously started chatting to you about doing some other things, and then that happened for like maybe a year, up to 2018, and then that was it, I think, wasn't it? I think.
So how? I mean, we can mention your job. We don't have to mention sort of where or what you do and stuff. But with you teaching, did that have sort of a negative impact on? Because you have to be prim and proper, and it was quite an extreme from standing in front of a class teaching English to standing in a room full of drunk people talking about rude stuff.
Rude stuff.
Yeah.
I was really concerned about that. I was really in two minds about. Every time I stood up on stage, I was like a bit concerned about who was going to be in the audience, if it was going to be filmed, what kids would see it. Anyway, that never happened. It wasn't an issue at the end of the day. Like, it all worked out fine. But there is a bit of a conflict there. Like, you want to be able to have your own life and talk about things, silly things on stage, but also if you want to teach like high school students in a really serious way and gain respect from them, it doesn't really go hand in hand. So I live a bit of a secret life. I felt like I was trying to be really secretive about it, so I wasn't really sharing things online about it and stuff like that, and I didn't want anyone to get it in the wrong hands or whatever. And then when I quit teaching, I did a podcast, And then...
You did a podcast before podcasts were cool.
Yeah, I did actually.
You were one of the pioneers.
Yeah, pre-cool podcast. And then went back into teaching part-time and then forgot that my podcast was linked to my Instagram profile. And even though my Instagram was private, in the link in bio, that stays there.
Oh,
So if someone searches you, your website is still available for them to click on. And some kids that I taught found it and then found my podcast, and then it became like a meme in school to the point where the safeguarding officer was like, we need to talk about this podcast.
What was the meme?
It was just me saying a word over and over and over again.
What was the word?
Masturbating. But it wasn't in that context. So they'd taken it out of context and then just like played it over and over and over.
Was there like a picture of you, or was it just the noise?
It was just the noise. It wasn't like a video, but there was a picture of me linked to my SoundCloud account. I was like, oh, for God's sake, I thought I'd got away with this. Like, so I had to delete that. I wasn't in trouble. Like,
Delete the podcast?
I had to delete the podcast if I wanted to stay at the school, because I was getting ridiculed by the kids, and the teachers didn't want it to go any further, I think. It wasn't a formal meeting. I didn't get dragged into someone's office and like, you have to take this down. I was like, listen, I'll delete it. It was when I wasn't a teacher, because I'd started it once I'd quit teaching. Forgot to delete it before I went back into teaching. I'll make it private at least. It was just a clerical admin error. I was like, my bad. Like, thought I could have a life at the same time as teaching. Obviously not. And I was concerned about doing this as well. Like, all night last night I was laid awake thinking, how can I talk openly without getting into trouble with future jobs that I get, or like all that sort of stuff. And I just thought, life's too short to like hide yourself away. Like, I've not said anything that's inappropriate. Like, even if I have, these are all honest experiences that I've had. And
who better for a young girl to come and talk to about something that she either has or might be going through than yourself?
Someone that's experienced it.
Yeah, I think by silencing people, we restrict their ability to help people.
Yeah.
So obviously with the job I do, it's a benefit because of my past.
Yeah.
And I just think, I was only talking about yesterday because Mia is going to university, and when she was, so she's doing a master's, she was at Durham University, and part of her course for criminology was to go into a prison. And so the students who are at uni and students who are doing the same course inside the prison, and you work together, so they go into the prison and work with them. Okay. But because she's been to prison, they wouldn't allow her in. And she was like, I don't know if it's going to affect my life. I want to be a social worker. I don't know if it's going to have these restrictions. Yeah. And I was like, if you talk about it in a way that it's a selling point, it will never hold you back.
Yeah.
You know, that's my experience. And I just think the more human you are to a young person, the more relatable you are, the more they're going to trust you, the more they're going to talk to you about stuff, because they know that you're going to understand, and you're not just going to be teacher, authority, police need to be involved, safeguarding issues, and it's just sort of, certain things they say do need to be passed on, and everyone knows what safeguarding means. Yeah. But you need to be the person that's approachable. I think because I mean, I'm not saying obviously go into great detail about your past, but we spoke maybe about a year ago about PHSE, about sex education, and that was something you wanted to do. Yeah. And I think if you can stand on stage and talk about your sex life, then you can be there and not be embarrassed when kids try, and because they'll always try and out embarrass you.
Of course they will.
Always. Yeah. And if you're there, like, let's talk about it then.
Ask me anything.
Yeah, and that little 15-year-old boy will go, I wasn't expecting that.
And I don't want to do anything or say anything that's going to make anybody feel uncomfortable. It's actually the opposite. Like, I'm a very much open book, I think, when it comes to information about myself and my experiences. I've had some really traumatic, hurtful experiences in relationships or, whatever. But I think it's helped me become so much more aware of like issues that people go through, and the girls. I was talking to the girl that I'm seeing actually about like whether or not.
I like how you changed it to the girl I'm seeing, whereas earlier you said girlfriend, and you don't want to say that out loud because you don't want her to feel
Thanks for
uncomfortable.
dropping that in.
Yep.
I've
Just
not
saying.
said it to her
I'm just
yet.
saying.
I've not asked her. It's not. I don't want to put any pressure on her.
Carry on.
Thanks for that, mate. Not bad. Right. So I was saying this, and I can't remember how the conversation came about. Oh, I think she asked me if any of my students fancied me, and I said that a girl in year 11 came out to me as bisexual, and then she was like, she obviously knew you were a lesbian before you knew. And I was like, oh, what vibes was I giving out? Like,
You didn't wear rugby shirts to work,
No,
did you?
but very much trouser suit and short hair, I think might have been
Okay.
giving it away.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we were talking a little bit about that. But I think because she must have thought that I was approachable and things like that. And if
Have you ever had young boys say anything to you like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
loads.
All right, chill out. Yeah.
So many, oh my God.
Obviously. Come on.
Have you seen this place? Surprisingly, yes. Yeah, lads used to look down my top and everything, like...
You don't really have boobs, though, do you?
I know.
I suppose, though, if you're just
If
a
you're
young boy...
15 years
yeah.
old, like, and take anything, can't you?
Yeah, I guess.
And I was really young when I started teaching as well, like 24, 25. So, like, I just think young woman in front of them, like, ah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree that, like, you have to be honest about your experiences and that will help. I just don't want... I don't want to be known as... Like, I'm not ashamed of it or anything like that. But the comedy that I used to talk about and stuff like that isn't who I am anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love standing on stage and talking about my experiences, but the experiences that I've had were there... Not as a means to an end, that's a really weird way of putting it, but I guess, like, they were experiences that I had at that time, and now I've talked through them and worked through them and, you know, spoke about them in front of an audience and written about them for a magazine. I'm done with them. Like, that's not my life anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm now ready to, like... I don't even know if I want to get on stage and talk about my love life anymore, because I'm actually in a really nice place where I don't... I'm not doing it for stories. I'm doing it because I want to be happy and content. And I just want a normal, really nice life. And I'm happy to write poetry about things like that. Like, I've written a few
Oh,
poems.
wow. So you've gone from comedy about shit that happens to poetry about love. What's happened
I've
to
not
you?
written any love poems yet, but the poetry that I started writing about, I wrote a poem about that was called Woman. And I thought I was writing it about, you know, how I felt like, not like a real woman. And I always felt like I was never womanly enough and things like that. And then I reread it and I was like, this is a coming out poem that I wrote like 2 years ago. And I didn't even click that that's what it was. And some of the lines are like, you know, if you can see a woman from far and you can see her breasts from like really far away and you can smell her even though she's walked by and all this stuff. And I was like, it's because, you know, I don't feel like that's me. I don't feel like I'm that sort of woman, but actually I just wanted to be with one of them women. I just want to hold you.
Oh, God.
I know.
I've never seen this side to you. It's weird.
It's weird, isn't it? I've got really
Yeah.
soft, like, and I don't
know
know.
if I like it.
It's weird, isn't it? I've still got an edge. I've still, like, I don't... I'm still, you know, an edgy, kind of cool, you know, hip. I'm not a regular girl. I'm a cool girl.
Was that... Can I just ask, was that you being cool?
No, that was a Mean Girls quote, man.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm not a regular mum. I'm a cool mum.
All right, so that... Yeah, okay. I've never seen Mean Girls. I'll take your word for it.
You haven't.
I don't think
You've never seen Mean Girls?
Is it the prison thing?
No, it's Bad Girls.
Oh, no, then. What's Mean
Really?
Girls?
Mean Girls, the film.
All right, so now you've said that, I know exactly what it is.
Now you've repeated it. Penny's dropped.
What is it?
It's Lindsay Lohan and...
Yeah, that's exactly why I've not seen it.
Okay. Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. Over the Head.
Over the Head.
Wow. Well, two of my favourite comedians, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. Tina Fey wrote it, and she used a self-help non-fiction book. She found this non-fiction book about raising teenagers and then turned it into a screenplay, and then it's like one of the biggest films ever. It's so quotable.
So I need to watch it.
You need to watch it, yeah. There's so many quotes.
Okay. So what's the plan? Are you gonna be a comedian again?
I don't know. I think at the minute I'm like, obviously this year, like every other person in the world, it's been the wildest year of my life, because not in the sense that it's been like, woo, party, crazy, like I've got so many stories, in the sense that like so many things have happened and changed, like everybody. In January or February, I accepted a job in Malaysia for 2 years.
Yeah, we're lucky we kept you, aren't we?
Yeah.
So do you want to say why you didn't end up going?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So obviously, like, so I've travelled a bit, and I've always kind of like wanted to, I don't know, find something about myself, like have fun experiences, and I don't want to be like in a normal 9-to-5 job and blah, blah, blah. And I think that was me just like running away from real life and myself, when really, when I came back from America, I was like, I'm really quite, like, I went to America last year for 3 months, and I was like, I'm quite happy to come back to Leeds now and just be like, live a normal, happy life. And then I thought I wanted a relationship, so like I met someone on Hinge, I met a guy on Hinge, and then went out
What's
with him.
Hinge?
It's a dating app.
Okay.
And I went out with him for like 2 months, but I was so unhappy. Like, he was so nice, but there was something missing, obviously.
A vagina.
Yes, clearly, that's what I realised it was. But I had a lovely time with him. He was such a nice guy, and I was so upset when I ended it, because I knew that it was me that was really, like, there was a personal issue that I needed to deal with, and I just couldn't stop crying when I ended it, because he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve to be messed around, and it wasn't very nice at all. And I was really hurt, and I knew I had to work through something, and I knew I had to get to some, there was something that I needed to find. And so I was like, right, I'm just going to go abroad again. That'll help. Do you know what I mean? So then I applied for a job in Malaysia, did an interview, got it. So did a Skype interview, got it, and got really good feedback. I was like, right, I'm going to move to Malaysia in August. Okay.
So how long was that meant to be for?
2 years.
Right.
Yeah, so like great benefits, good wage, like they put you in an apartment with like a pool and a gym, and like,
oh wow,
it's red hot all year round, and like
F1 goes there.
Yeah, like of the lifestyle that loads of people will want. And I was like, right, okay, I'll do that. And then lockdown happened, and I just had some time to just think and reflect. I lost most of my work. So I was working in events, and I was working doing a bit of acting as well. So like I had loads of money about to come in, and then lockdown happened and I lost it all. So I was just doing tuition on Skype, 7 hours a week. So I had to apply for a bit of money from the government. Didn't get as much as some people have. But so I had a lot of time on my hands, and then I started really thinking about what is it that I want. Started looking at like resources about being queer and like queer relationships, and I was like, I think that's what it is. And then watched a program called Feel Good on Channel 4, which is written by Mae Martin, who's a comedian and a Canadian comedian. And I really fancied her, and I was like, oh no, this is it, isn't it? This is what it is. And I was like, okay, so let's look at Malaysian's gay scene, and like, the scene over there. Illegal as hell. So I was like, oh no. And then it really dawned on me. I was like, if I'm this gutted that it's illegal to be gay in Malaysia, where I'm about to live, this can't be like a normal feeling that straight people get. Like, they could just live their lives. Like if I was a straight person going to Malaysia, I could just live my life without worrying about that. I mean, it's a horrible thing. It's a human rights issue, absolutely. But it wouldn't directly affect me. But I knew this would directly affect me, even though I hadn't come out yet. So I was like, oh, that really changes my mind. And I've not talked to anybody about this. And I was really anxious and really scared.
So this is all happening at the same time as you're sort of coming to grips with these feelings?
Yeah. So,
right.
Yeah, so like I'd just been offered a 2-year contract in Malaysia. Then I realised I was gay. Lockdown happened. Like, I'd spoken to nobody. I was having counselling about what had happened a couple of years ago. So everything was happening, and I was just dealing with a lot. And then I decided, I had like second thoughts about Malaysia, and I was like, I spoke to my family about it because I was locking down with them, even though I lived in Leeds at the time. I just didn't want to be alone, but I wasn't telling them why I'd had second thoughts. I basically just said, like, I've spent a lot of time with you guys, and I realised that, you know, this is really important to me, blah, blah, blah. But there was something else that I just couldn't, like, say at that point.
Oh, wow, as if you made out like it was them that was keeping you from going.
I mean, it is a factor, obviously. And then I spoke to my friend on the phone, and she persuaded me out of it. She was like, you're going to love it. Like, it's going to be terrible trying to get a job in the UK after COVID. Like, you'll have a great time. You'll regret not going. I was like, okay. So she put me back on track to this job. And then when the Black Lives Matter movement really started gaining momentum, I wanted to be part of it massively and wanted to go to protests and stuff like that. And I was getting a little bit, because my parents live in Pontefract and I wanted to be in Leeds, and I was just getting a bit itchy feet and I wanted to be back in Leeds. So then I came back to Leeds and I was staying with a friend because my housemate at the time was a ICU nurse. So, like, obviously COVID and stuff like that, we were just staying away from each other. So I was living with a friend at the time, and then she and her boyfriend are extremely open-minded, woke, and just like the best people to talk about like sexual confusion with. So I was basically just telling them how I felt, and they were like, you need to do something about this, mate. They were like really, you know, like encouraging. And so then I started like put myself out there on the dating apps for women, and then that's when I met this girl. And
your girlfriend?
I would like her to be my girlfriend.
Wow, is this an exclusive?
But I'm not telling her that.
Well, is she not going to watch this?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm going to send her a link. I know what she looks like now. You showed me a picture. She's a fitty, and I know what she looks like, so I'm going to send her a link. I'm going to send her that clip. I want her to be my girlfriend. Just that. And then I'm going to get her to film you and be like, is there something you want to ask me?
Oh, that's so embarrassing.
Just so I can be there afterwards to appreciate it.
Okay. What if she says no? Awkward.
Back on the dating app.
Back on the app. But anyway, so then, came to terms with everything. Because this has been a lifelong process, it didn't feel weird, like, talking about it then after that. As soon as, like, I went to my parents and I came out to my parents and I took loads of Nando's chicken, and my mum was like, what are you doing here with all this chicken? And I was like...
Did you Google how to come out to your parents or something?
I was like, okay, what will make this situation better? Chicken. Because I love chicken so much. I was like, it's going to make it easier for me if I've got some roast chicken in front of me. So I took some Nando's with me. And then my mum and my brother were extremely supportive and amazing. And
what was your sentence? How did you...
I said, obviously, you know, I've dated a lot of men and I've never been happy. And
at that point, did you see any sort of expression changes, or like was there anything?
It was a bit more of a... My mum was like, okay, right. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think she was expecting it?
She said to me that she wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I think that sentence sets it up really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've dated a lot of men. Are you gay? Yeah.
Yeah.
So as soon as it happened, as soon as I told my parents and my brother, I just felt like a weight was off, and I felt like I could just completely be myself. And everybody else I've told, I haven't been like... I've told obviously my close friends, and everyone's been so supportive and like encouraging and whatever.
I think I said, you're one of them.
I know, you did.
I think they were my exact words.
Yeah, it's because you fancy me, that's why.
Fancied me. Yeah. Back when you had short hair and you looked a bit like a boy.
Are you trying to tell me something?
Wait a minute. Actually,
is this Phil's coming out podcast?
I keep having bad female relationships.
Maybe this is what it is.
We'll talk about this another time.
Join the pride. So yeah, I'm just having a really nice time, and I just feel like everything's clicked into place. I've obviously got no job and have nowhere to live. So like those things at the moment are just like, I'm just looking for those in the...
Does she have a house and a good job? Is this why you're desperate to
go out with her?
Yeah, you're just looking for a green card, somewhere to live.
No, thank you. I can sort myself out. I want to be a real adult. And
Proper adult.
Do you know what, actually? She makes me want to be a real adult because she's one.
Yeah.
And I really respect her and I think she's great. And it makes me want to go, yeah, I want her to think that about me. So, like, I'm applying for jobs and places to live so I can, like, prove that as well, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think that's what she wants me to have to do. But for me, like, I've never wanted to, like, graft as much as this. Do you know what I mean? I'm really bothered about what she thinks, and I think
it's nice. I've got a friend called Jo, and she's my go-to person for anything. She's so sort of, I don't know, she's just so like humbled, and she's like, is it Yoda?
Yeah.
Yeah. She
Off of
doesn't
Star
look or
Wars.
talk like him, but it's sort of like any time there's something that I'm not sure of, she knows exactly what she needs to say.
Yeah.
Very religious person, very sort of at one with herself, completely knows what she wants in life. And we were sort of talking about stuff, and this has been over like the last however many years, and sort of like, let's say I meet a girl that lives in Sheffield and she's got kids and we're messaging, and she's like, all right, and is it going well? I'm like, yeah, completely made up story. Yeah, she seems nice. And she's like, so have you spoke about where you're going to live?
What do you mean?
It's been like a week. And she'll just be like, yeah, but if it goes well, that week will turn into a month, that month will turn into a year, and then you're in a place where you don't want to leave Leeds, but she's got kids in Sheffield. So is it better to think about that at the start now, rather than getting caught up in this, oh yeah, everything's amazing because it's new, and then be like, oh shit, how did we never have this conversation? But with all sorts of things in life, with work, with, we spoke about sort of the future, and I'm now trying to buy my mum's house so that she can live in it rent free, and then, no nice way to say it, when Corona takes her, I can, I've got a property.
Yeah.
I've never thought about things like that before, and she's just she just makes everything really simple to understand.
Yeah, that's how I feel at the moment. Like, I've always been just so lost, like I said before, and like floating around, pinging off every kind of situation and letting the world take me. And I've just had some time to just be grounded and be like, I've never wanted a relationship, never. And now I just want to be settled, and I want to be, really happy, and I want a home, and I want a job that I enjoy, but I also want to spend time with whoever I'm with. And I think I never wanted that because I didn't see, all of my family, I've got cousins and my brother, and they have children and they're married or they have long-term partners, whatever, all straight couples. And I always looked at them and was like, why don't I want that? Like, what is it? I was like, they'd always ask me like, oh, Rachel, do you want children? Or do you want this? When are you going to get married? When are you going to get a boyfriend? And they'd always listen to like my dating stories and be like, oh, classic you. And, I went on a couple of dates with this guy, and I was like, oh, 2-date Tom. And like, you know what I mean? And everyone used to laugh at that, like, any more 2-date Toms coming up? Do you know what I mean? And I'd be like, how do I explain that that's not what I want? And I don't, but now I know that I want to be with a woman. I'm like, maybe I do want that. Like, I wanted all this excitement before, and like all these traveling experiences and whatever, because I was running away from what I really want, which is just a lovely, content relationship with someone that'll make me happy, and someone who I'm attracted to, and that I just want to like be with all the time.
God, you're so gay.
I know, it's so weird, like saying it out loud as well. But now I feel like I'm just catching up with like myself, and I'm just...
If you'd have had these feelings 2 years ago and you'd not have met this girl, do you think you would have gone to Malaysia?
It depends how I felt about myself. If I was this kind of secure 2 years ago, do you know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, it's still illegal over there. So if I was single, I would have to be like, I don't want to be without a love life for 2 years just because it's illegal, and I wouldn't like
it might be like a really seedy underground
yeah, I know, that's what I mean.
scene.
Yeah, but I'd also feel a little bit weird about that because I'd be a teacher out there too.
Yeah.
And it's a private school. So like the parents pay for, this top-notch education, and the parents might not necessarily agree with it. Like if they're Malaysian parents, which 60% of them would have been, but it was an international school, so loads of different nationalities too, but if they were quite strict in their beliefs.
Don't want my child being taught by a lesbian because it's illegal in this country.
Exactly, yeah. And I really panicked about that, and I worried about parents' evening. I worried about people finding out, or if I was on a dating app, what if someone saw me on that and reported me, or you could literally get arrested, put in jail.
Is there other countries that are the same?
I think Dubai potentially.
So Dubai's weird anyway. You can't, unless you're married, you can't kiss in public or anything like that.
You can't there either. And the weird thing in Malaysia, you're not allowed to have oral sex. And I don't know who's policing that.
Ever?
No.
Oh wow.
It's like a rule.
That you'd think all right. Usually you'd say, some old man's made that rule, but you'd think that men would be up for that.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I don't know enough about it to make a comment on it.
2020, it's still a thing.
Yeah. So the answer to that question is I don't know. I don't think I would want to live my life in a lie when I have been doing that forever already in a country that's even more accepting, much more accepting. You come out after so long, you want to be able to be like, woohoo!
I'm here.
Hey, I'm here and I'm queer. But if I had to be quite conservative if I was over there, and that's not who I am, I guess.
So what's changed since you've told people? Has the way you dress changed? Has you've grown your hair long, which is the wrong way around of doing it?
It's the other way around, isn't it? I think. Do you know what? I think I'd cut my hair years ago to try and have a bit of my
beg for someone to realise.
Yeah, have a bit of my identity without having to say it.
Yeah.
But this is obviously all subconscious, But when I was 15, I cut all my hair off, and I had short hair then and long fringe here, and I knew I was different to other girls, and I just wanted to cut my hair to show that I was, but I didn't know it was sexuality. I just thought I'm not like you, and I don't want to look like you either. So I've been like that forever, and then when I was in America last year, I spent three months without a haircut. My hair grows so quickly. And I was like, actually suits me a bit longer. So then I grew it and then got blonder. And I quite like it. I think it suits me better. And I feel more confident in myself as well. I could do different hairdos and stuff like that. I'm like, woo, first time. But
this is so weird for me.
Why?
Because you've been really girly and stuff, and it's so unusual, a completely different person.
But I feel because I can be myself now without having to have my hair cut. My brother said, since you've come out as a lesbian, you walk more gay. It's what does that mean? He was like, you walk like a man. I was like, that doesn't make me gay. Gay doesn't mean you walk like a man. Do you know what I mean? Is obviously a stereotype. And wear hats backwards now and all that stuff. My brother was like, you just look gayer. I was like, it's probably because I've really accepted who I am, and I'm just really happy to be if someone said it to me, I wouldn't anymore be like, no, I'm not. What are you on about? I'd be like, yes, I am. So I think my confidence is. I've always been a confident person, as you know, but it's coming from a place that's different now. I think I was hiding a lot then, obviously. So it was a bravado. I was putting more on to kind of hide of insecurities, I guess. But now I'm just not as insecure as I used to be, and I'm just really quite happy with who I am as a person. So that was maybe the final thing of accepting myself, and now I'm so happy and chilled. I'm laughing all the time. So yeah, lots changed in the sense that I'm much more just kind of content with myself, I guess.
Brilliant.
Is that good?
Yeah, it is. It's really good to see. You've always been a happy, smiley person, but
yeah.
I don't know, there's just something different about you now. You've just got this lesbian glow around you. So it's good to see. So
I like women.
You have to get your little t-shirt printed. So when you're talking about applying for jobs, is that sort of, are you still looking at teaching? Are you worried about?
I'm not looking at teaching necessarily. I'm looking at education though.
Okay.
So like outreach stuff. So like trying to get maybe marginalised groups into higher education, those sorts of jobs, being like recruitment, like student recruitment officers and stuff like that. I've applied for a couple of jobs like school liaison officer, and I think you go between colleges and schools and try and work with students who are maybe not reaching potential or things like that. But it's not teaching in mainstream school anymore, because with that, there's a lot of things that I just found extremely stressful. Students are obviously like seen as numbers a lot of the time and like data. And I really care about the person and what's happening with them and their lives. And that's always kind of, I felt like a conflict in that sense. Like I wanted to care about what was happening with the student and their mental health or their emotional health or all those things. And I wanted to like talk to them about race or like sexuality or like all the interesting real life stuff. And I had to talk about Macbeth, and I was like, oh, this, you know, you can obviously link those themes in, you know, you've got femininity, masculinity, and all those really cool themes, but you can only go so far.
Yeah.
You've got to, at the end of the day, get them a grade. And, you know, the exam board aren't looking for their opinion on the pride flag or whatever. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of restriction with teaching in mainstream schools, especially a subject like English, because you're a key subject, so you have to. It's a high standard. You have to get kids to a certain grade, and if you didn't, you wouldn't get a pay rise. You know, like if the results came out and you'd not hit a certain target, then you wouldn't get a pay rise. And even though you can work as hard as you possibly can with one student or with a full class of students, but all the external factors make more of a difference. Like you can have 4 hours a week teaching English to a kid, but at home, they might have lost a parent. They might be starving. They might, you know, have all these things that are happening. They might be in care. Like all these things that are happening that you cannot physically be in charge of.
Yeah.
And for me my wage to reflect that, it just doesn't seem fair. So that's why I would like to avoid working in a school in that sense again, I think.
Yeah, I had a girl called Amy, who's a teacher, and she's similar. I don't think it's PHSE that she does, or she does do that, but she does lots of other things, and she's all about sort of student behaviour and sort of supporting them through stuff that's going on outside of schools. Absolutely amazing person. Mm-hmm. Actually, we were giving her some shit because we was asking her if she was in a relationship, and she was like, nah, and was like, that poor guy. He's going to be sat watching this thinking, Mum, come look, this is the girl I've been telling you about. This is Amy, and then you're like, and she was like, well, actually, I'm a lesbian, so and we was all like, oh, okay. So she dropped that bombshell on me.
No way.
That was a new thing as well.
Right.
But it might be worth me putting you in touch with her, because I think the school that they're with is an academy, mm-hmm. and I think she's sort of created a role within her job, mm-hmm. which is very similar to what you're describing.
Okay.
So even if it's just some pointers or what have you, or cool. Even if it means that you do create your own thing, and then, you know, you could be that cool one who just visits sort of random schools.
That's
every
what I
now
want
and
to be.
then.
I
That
love
would be
working
it.
for myself. Yeah. Like with the tuition thing, it's great because you work on your own schedule. I've worked in a school as well, and like nipped into a school, did an hour with like a small group of year 11s, got them up to where they need to be, and then gone home. And I like that.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
I think I struggle with sort of long-term work commitments. Like if I had a job for 2 years, like I've done jobs for long, but like with this, if someone said, oh, I've got a 2-year project and it's this, I think I'd just be a bit like, yeah, I'll come and get it started and then we'll get someone else to run it. Because I'm more about sort of creating, getting it up and running, and then like, what's the next thing? Do you know what I mean? So that would be ideal for me. Yeah, I don't think you should stop stand up. Can you not make the news funny? So
The news is already funny.
yeah, that's a good point. But like, instead of it being about your experiences,
What, like, do like news parodies?
shall
and
I give you
things
some
like that?
topics now and then see how quick you can make a joke?
Oh no, I can't do jokes on the spot. I can't.
Carry jokey.
Gary Joker. Tell it one when you get home.
But yeah, I do think sort of your personality, and people will see it watching this. You know, it'd be a shame if you stopped doing stuff for rooms full of people. But I appreciate obviously the situations that you're in.
I think I love making people laugh, and I love being on stage. And
Yeah, I mean, when you did your makeup this morning, that was obviously the whole intention.
like clowning.
Yeah. Like the humour side to it. Yeah,
Exactly.
you just got them bits where the coffee.
I know. I actually do
Where
have
you had
this.
to
I
wipe
had
coffee
like,
off your face.
one crusted on. Like I had to scratch it off.
This sounds like a story you've said before.
I think I've got it all off now.
It was that side of your face anyway, so they weren't
Don't
able
matter.
to see it. Yeah.
But yeah, just love making people laugh. I don't necessarily want to be a comedian because that again is like being quick or funny with jokes or with punchlines or whatever. And I feel like that's not really where I am, where my humour goes. I think it's just like the situations I've got myself into. Even like the coffee thing this morning, like that was a classic me. Classic.
The other thing I love is how you don't take yourself seriously in that on your podcast. The photo that you used was after like a gym session,
Yeah, it was
and you
awful,
were
wasn't it?
squeezing your head down, and you had like
Gross.
just things like that. I think it's
know.
brilliant. It's not about sort of always trying to look perfect, and I think that's a good sort of thing for younger people to see as well.
Yeah.
One thing I worry about is the pressure that young people put on. I've got a friend from school, and this is quite a few people who've said similar things, like young teenagers, so like 13, 14-year-old girls who are sort of not happy about the way they look or their weight or, things like that.
Yeah.
I just think Instagram,
Social media
in general.
It is brutal. I would not have survived living through that,
Yeah.
Like if I had issues with body image, like all the way through up until, I don't even know if it ever goes away. Like I've started exercising now, like a couple of years ago. It was exercise that did it for me. Like knowing that you can eat what you want, but as long as you just do a bit of exercise and keep yourself healthy. But I was obsessed with it. Like I stopped eating when I was like 15, just starved myself, and my mum had to take like 8 weeks off work to like get me healthy again. And then I stopped eating carbs, and like just could never have a healthy relationship with food. And then I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like 2016, I got like a personal trainer. I got really into working out. And now I know how to like keep healthy without having to cut out food groups and stuff like that. Like it's so much better, and I'm just so much more happy with myself. But if I'd have lived through that Instagram age, or that, like, even TikTok is like, I have no reason to be on TikTok. However, 'cause pandemic, there's been a lot of time, like free time. So
Do you go on there to watch videos, or have you made any videos?
I've made a video with my brother. It was just like doing impressions of like Gavin and Stacey or something.
Oh, right,
It was
okay.
just boredom, purely boredom, and it was very stupid. But obviously, like, it's easy to just scroll through.
I got the app because we were trying to be creative with our youth groups. So the youth group had to close, which is a couple of times a week. So we've got all these young people stuck in the house with nothing to do.
Yeah.
So we bought 10 iPads, and we were delivering iPads to the families. And then it was like, right, can we use the iPads to create tasks
Like content
and
or
stuff?
whatever.
Yeah. So we did these activity packs where you'd get 14 days worth of activities. So it was a printed booklet with all the either ingredients or tools or whatever you needed, pens, paper. So everything was included in. And then we was like, well, what about the digital side to it? So we got the app, and we were looking for, the sort of rehearsable dances.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sat, and it's just like, I don't understand the difference between swiping up and swiping across. they're all just the same, just video
Loads
after
of the same
video
thing.
after video, and I was just, you just lose hours because the
yeah.
videos are only sort of 10 to 30 seconds,
long, yeah.
and you just don't realise how many you watch, and then like an hour's gone.
You get in a hole, don't you?
Yeah, and I'm just writing down like the names of, because they do like challenges and stuff.
Yeah.
Just sat writing, that challenge could be quite funny, and then just scroll, and it is so time consuming. It's ridiculous.
It really is. And if you're a lesbian and you go on lesbian TikTok, you can be there for hours.
There's a lesbian TikTok.
So my algorithm is just lesbians, and I don't know how I've made it that way, but I must have searched initially lesbians, but I can't remember how it came about. But my friend stumbled on it first, but she's not gay, she's married to a man, and she was like, I think you'll find this attractive. And I wasn't out then, but she just knew I would. She was like, you'll be interested in this. So then I was like, oh my god, how do I find more of this? So then I liked anything that was like it, and then my algorithm just became lesbian TikTok.
Okay.
And now it's just...
So is it the same as non-lesbian TikTok, but just with lesbians doing all the
and all that stuff? Yeah.
Right, okay.
And then that made me gayer, honestly. Like, there's so many beautiful women on there, and I was like, oh my god, yes, that's what I want.
How do you feel about... We was talking about... I want to get this right.
But if you get it wrong, it's okay.
Well,
it's
a bit of a dodgy subject. So you have... I can't remember what the alternative is, but sort of young girls underage doing some of the dances which are provocative.
Right.
And then, so TikTok's quite a big thing for paedophiles.
Oh, is it?
Or did you not know?
I mean, I can assume it is.
Yeah.
Like...
And it's because of things like that. But then it's... Why are we saying that the girls could be at fault because of the way they're dancing?
That's victim blaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but is there a line between, okay, so these are like 12, 13, 14-year-olds dancing in that sort of way that you would expect in a nightclub? And is that okay?
It's a minefield, this, isn't it? Like, it's such a dodgy subject.
Do you see why I tried to make sure I worded it properly?
Like, women have been over-sexualised forever. So whatever age a woman is and whatever she's doing, in some way she's going to be seen differently to if a man was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And if a young lad was doing a dance like that, it wouldn't be half as...
well, it'd be called gay.
He might be called gay because of stereotypes and stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah, absolutely. But he wouldn't be over-sexualised, I don't think, in the way society does it to young girls. I don't think it's right that young girls should be doing sexy dance. Young people should be doing sexy dances, but what's a sexy dance?
Yeah, I was going to say, is it a sexy dance, or is it just because we say, oh, that makes me feel a certain way when I watch a woman do that?
Yeah.
So now that's classed as a sexy dance.
Yeah, what's sexy? Like, I don't know.
So, pole fitness.
Like pole dancing.
But for fitness.
Is that what you mean, though?
Yeah. So you go to a gym, there's a pole, there's 6 women there and an instructor, and they teach them how to do... I don't mean as a lesbian, I just mean like...
No.
I've just painted a perfect picture.
As a woman, as a person who likes exercise, great, if I could do that.
What I'm saying about that is, until pole fitness came about,
Yeah.
pole dancing has always been about attracting men for them to give you money.
Yeah, but...
So that's all that's ever been.
Yeah, but it is like, if a woman is choosing to do that and that's what she wants to do with her life and her job, and like, great, she can make... Have you seen Hustlers? Right film. Like, she can make loads of money in some places. Yeah. Some places she might not make that much money. If it's when these women are exploited where it becomes wrong. Same with prostitution. Like, sex work. Just like check myself there. It should be legalized, in my opinion, to keep people safe, to keep women safe.
Okay.
And because if a woman gets hurt when she as a sex worker, but it's not legal, she will be less likely to go to the police and say, I've been hurt, I've been attacked, I've been...
Do you know this has happened?
Yeah.
So there's a place in Leeds where
Holbeck.
you can go and pay for
7
sex.
till 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so it's on my doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
And while I agree that it does make the women safer and they are reporting crimes, which is brilliant,
Yeah.
the destruction that leaves, not just from them, but from pimps, from men coming into the area, children's play areas littered with needles and used condoms. So we're currently trying to work out how do we do this that benefits everybody.
Yeah.
Because if the people that are campaigning want it to stop, so let's say, right, as of tomorrow, it's not legal anymore. It's illegal. You will be arrested. That's probably the most dangerous way to do it because there's no support. The police get pulled. We don't need that extra police support there now because it's not legal anymore. So we don't need to police that. It's just another area of Leeds. And the women don't have the support that they would have had because all the extra support that they would have got is going to be pulled. So then there's, all right, so what do we do? Do we give them a building? Do we make it a business? But then if you think about a joiner who gets money on the side, they do cash in hand jobs because it's better for them. If you're asking a woman who's minus whatever the man who controls them, because that's what's happening, the man makes them do that because he takes money off of them. So when he's took his bit, whatever they're left with, they then have to pay rent. They then have to pay tax.
Yeah, I think that's different though. If a woman, if she works for herself.
Yeah.
Like.
But what I'm saying is on the street where she works for herself, it has consequences for residents that didn't choose for that to be legal on their doorstep.
But if it was legalised, it wouldn't have to be a man that looked after her, would it?
But it's legalised now and this is what's happening.
Yeah, but in every situation, is it a pimp?
In most of the situations,
right.
There's a man that controls the woman and makes her do whatever she needs to do to bring so much money.
To get the money home.
Yeah.
So then there has to be a better way to keep women safe and away from that situation and keep like you said, the area where you live and where everyone else, is trying to live. It could just be like a normal business. Like a lot of people, regardless of the work, whether it's sex work or not, people will be exploited in one way or another. Like you could work in a shop and be exploited in some way. Like there's always going to be someone who takes the piss or takes advantage of you, like in whatever work that is. And I don't think making prostitution legal will make that be any different to if you you know what I mean, like if it was in a different like industry or whatever. At the end of the day, if like someone's smuggling, sex workers are smuggling humans for that reason because it's illegal and it's all underground and dodgy, then it's going to stay seedy, or it's going to stay like it's going to be unsafe for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if it's legalised and there's an actual like way to do it where everyone's safe and there's paperwork and there's, I don't know, like I've not looked too much into it. I'm not like, I've not read up on it as much as maybe I should, but just from where I'm sitting now, I just think surely for me, the safety of these women is like paramount. So whatever we can do to make them safer is the best option. So they can have a job that they're choosing to do, earn the money they deserve, be as safe as they possibly can and live their life without fleeing danger from like the police or from a pimp or from, someone who wants to take advantage of them because they didn't want to pay the money and
Yeah.
So all that sort of stuff, I think, I'm not saying that it eradicates all that if you legalise it, because it doesn't. Like, you can never, there's still dodgy people in whatever walk of life, whether it's legal or not. But I don't know if it might just make things a little bit easier and take some of the stigma away from women, because women get women just get the short end of the stick every time. We just get a shit deal, like, a lot of the time. And I'm not just like, this is from a white woman. Imagine what it's like to be a black woman or a person of colour. Like, it's going to be worse, like, because that race makes things worse. Like, so, yeah, this is just like, obviously just from me doing no research or whatever. It's just an opinion, I guess. But
I mean, some of that's never been suggested, really. Like, some of the things I've said is it started off at Chapeltown and it's migrated its way through to South Leeds. And then because it's been made legal, it's stayed there. Whereas that natural progression might have taken it somewhere else. So the residents aren't happy about that. But what if there were 3 or 4 legal places in Leeds?
Yeah.
It would shift some of the traffic to other areas. I just thought about that while you was talking, so I don't think it's ever been a conversation.
I don't know how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, but there were talks about buildings and stuff, but like I say, someone has to run that building. Then we have an actual responsibility for those women. So there has to be sort of workers' rights. There has to be tax and national insurance.
Of course they do.
There has to be tests. I mean, that's the best way to do it. It's the Amsterdam way of doing it.
Yeah.
So that is the best way to do it. But realistically, that's the least likely to happen because, like you say, if you say to the women, right, you can do it, but it has to be professionally, and it has to be in this place during these times, and these are the precautions you have to take. It's not that a lot of them are there to earn a little bit of money for either drugs or, and this isn't me being stereotypical, this is 3 years worth of research that's been going on. And like I say, a lot of them are forced into doing this. So I think if you offered a lot of them an opportunity of education, a different job, then that would be the route that they'd want to take. As soon as they get some self-worth. A lot of them say no because, and it's like homeless people. So we have a lot of rough sleepers who are rough sleepers because they choose to be. And if they were given an opportunity of a house, they then have an opportunity to fail. So it's easier for them to choose to be homeless than to be made homeless.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think there's reasons why, though, like the government or whoever we rely upon for funding, do you feel like why aren't they giving us that? Why aren't they giving people that opportunity to have?
So there is organisations that are there to help for things like that, but a lot of it is self-worth. A lot of it is, and a lot of it is with the sex worker side is men saying this is all you're good for, this is all you'll ever be. And if you've ever been in a controlling relationship, it's so easy to think that, well, he's there to support me, he loves me, so he knows what's best for me, and he's telling me that if I want to do this, this is how I need to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's why education, like you say, is so important.
Yeah.
And it does start at a young age, and I feel like there are so many things. It's another thing that I disagree with in schools is like the curriculum does not focus on any of that stuff. Like in PSHE, I think I learned to put a condom on a cucumber once in year 9, and that's as much.
Bloody hell, that's setting your expectations high, isn't it?
Exactly.
Cucumber.
Yeah, like Jesus, like all the lads are like, yeah, that's me. All the girls are like, ah.
Wow.
So that's as much sex education as I got in year 9. Like, no wonder I'm a lesbian. Christ, like cucumbers, no thanks.
Warm apple pie, I'm all over that day. But I don't think anyone in school ever thinks, do you know what, I want to stand in skimpy clothes in the middle of Holbeck and get in cars with random strangers for 20 quid.
No.
So there's got to be elements of desperation, elements of control that force people.
We need to be teaching young people what healthy relationships are, what options there are out for you, out there for you to make a safe decision about your future. Like, that's it.
The Joe that I told you
the
about.
Joe.
We've been doing some work over the summer holidays with different groups because of lockdown. Usually we'd do like 15 to 20 kids for a couple of weeks, but we've had to do 1 week where sort of 6 to 10 are there just in the morning. So Monday to Friday AM, and then a different group are there in the PM, and then the next week it's 2 different groups just so we get to see everybody. And every morning she starts with a video of some spoken word around self-worth, and she talks to them about how they matter, about how important they are. And it's really sort of nice because these are council estate kids that probably always only ever get negativity. So then to be there and be told that, you know, they mean something in life and that they matter to somebody, it's really sort of...
They might be like, they might have a beautiful relationship with their family inside that council estate home, but the way that the press and the way that society views people like that, they will be seen as those types of people, regardless of their upbringing. Like, that's just, you know, the way it's like the working class or whatever we call it now. Like, I'm not woke enough, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it's still, that's the term, but, you know, there are certain views of certain classes of people that the world projects upon us. Like, and it's so important that young people don't see themselves in one of those, like, little pens of, like, oh, I'm this, I come from this place, so I must feel like this, or I must do this job, or I, you know, this is the only option for me. Like, it can't be like that. It's not.
A lot of them don't even see themselves outside of that state. And the reality of it is they're growing up, looking up to people in flash cars that are selling drugs. They're getting... So that this is the people that they look up to. So when they say, do you want to come for a ride in the car? Like, yeah, of course I do. And it's that, this is how you could do this. This is how you could have this car. This is how you could be the person that people look up to. And we don't have the opposite. We don't really have the role models there on a daily basis, on a regular basis, for them to be able to see and find out that there is another way of doing it. It's a bit harder work, but you never have to worry about getting into trouble, because what you don't see is that person the first day in prison, when they're scared, when they don't know who they're going to be padded up with. They don't see that side of it. It's all bravado. The other thing, especially on my council estate, is a lot of the parents that don't work. So you've got kids who have nice new trainers, jackets from shoplifters, but they don't know that. So what they're seeing is mum or dad, or mum and dad don't work, but I've still got all these nice things. So why would I need to worry about getting a job? They manage. Look at all my nice stuff I've got. Why? And it's frustrating. It's really frustrating.
And how do you get that through to a young person, like in a classroom, in an assembly hall, like that the way they might be seeing their life might not be okay, or might not be the right way to live? Like, you don't want to offend anyone or like anyone's family, God forbid. Like, you don't want to say that the way you're living is not the right way, or the way of life that you should be living. Or you've got to be careful, especially if you come from a middle class background or a different background to theirs, because it's seen as being patronising, or you're looking down.
Know? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you've never experienced this, and I haven't. Like, I've been very privileged in my life, so how dare I go in and speak to a kid about their life and their experience? Like, I don't know anything. So as much as I want to give a better future to young people and get more kids into uni or into higher education and give them a better, bright future, how do you do that without being like, do it my way because it's better?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really hard. Like,
it's like I was asking you about when we talk about drugs, do we tell them about the stuff we enjoyed? And it's about being honest, and about saying, you know, you can go and sell drugs and you will make money fast, and you might make more money than you could earn at a job. But if you get caught and go to prison for 3 years, the money you earned in that 1 year spread out over 4 years definitely isn't worth it. And then the fact that now you're going to struggle more in life, you're going to have markers on your name, on your mum's house, and it's just trying to get them to understand that everything in their life is short term. And there was a study on this, and so if you imagine the families in London that go to the good schools, the Cambridge, you know, Oxford, they're from dual parent homes where they go on holiday 2-3 times a year. This is their life. So they know that in the summer holidays they're going to go to this place that they go to every year,
South
and then
of France, or
Christmas they're going to go to this place, and then Easter they're going to go, or whatever it is. So they have this routine, and it's a long-term routine. When they're looking at their options, they can plan for 2 years at college, 3 years at university. They can plan for masters, because for them, at the end of a 7-year leave school, 7 years worth more of education is going to be the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're from a family where you don't know whether you're going to eat that night or not, or whether there's mum's even going to be at home when you get home, everything's short term, everything's today, tomorrow. There's no sort of, oh, we're going to go on holiday in the summer. It's, are we going to eat? Is mum going to be home? Is mum going to be drunk? So how can you think about 3 years of college? How can you think about 4 years of university when you can't even plan on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
And it's the difference between them, and that's why, you know, the people with long-term goals are the ones that are succeeding in life. And that's why people from council estates usually, and it's not everybody, you know, my sister grew up in the same house as me and she's a manager for Leeds City Council. She's doing really well for herself. But we have disposable jobs because it's short term. It's not a career. You can make a career out of a job you get, but you don't plan for that career. You just get a job and then you end up staying with it for a while.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So it's about getting them to see that they're worth more than their circumstances. I think I have a line in a piece, don't let your circumstances define your reality. And it's about sort of showing them that everyone starts the same. And then if you have to work harder, you'll appreciate it more when you get there. But everything just looks easier. If I can make quick money to help my mum with shopping or to buy those trainers that she can't afford me to get, but people at school are taking piss out of me getting a Sunday job means I'll get them in 6 months. Me selling drugs means I could have them by weekend.
Yeah.
So
it's that more immediate, like
immediate gratification.
I want it now.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's much harder if your circumstances are different. Like, I think people who, like me, like, when I went to school, I went to a comprehensive, like, school in, like, just outside Pontefract. Wasn't, like, the nicest area in the world, but I came from a really nice, like, street. Both my parents worked. We had 2 cars. Do you know what I mean? We had a conservatory.
all right, show off.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Not
not to
about
show
poverty, and then you're here like, yeah, we had cars.
there's a point I'm trying to make here.
Butler.
He's called my brother. And our house backed onto the, like, science block at school, so, like, kids would jump over our wall to get out, and so they didn't have to walk around, like, school. And kids would call me posh at school, because, like, the area that we lived in wasn't necessarily, like, flashy or nice or whatever. So people would say that we were really rich or, like, really posh, but for us it was just like, it's just a house. Like, I had a job at 15. I wasn't necessarily living off, like, expecting everything to be handed to me and stuff like that. But I've had like quite an easy life when it's come to things like that, because I worked since I was 15 all the way through uni, all the way through, like, travelling, everything. I always wanted to make my own money. But I knew that if I didn't, I'd be all right.
Yeah.
I think the
So
difference...
what motivated you to do it?
I don't want to live off... Like, I really like my independence. Like, I don't have any money saved up. I'm rubbish at, like, saving money. But I've always had the money that I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I've been really lucky in other ways as well. Like, I knew that, like, if I was stuck, I could ring my mum or my dad and they'd be like, okay, we'll sort you out. And I'm so lucky to have that, because it when you, like, have experiences meeting other people and you travel and, like, you talk to other people, you're like, oh my god, that were your living experience. God, like, I never had to deal with that. Like, and you realise, like, oh my god, I was so lucky as a child. Like, but when you're growing up, it just feels like normal. And I know, and I'm very much, like, acknowledging of that. Like, but it is really important to me to have my own money and to do my own thing and to live away from home and not have to call my parents and, like, you know, especially at 29, you don't want to be like, hey mum, can you lend me a tenner?
I don't know. I think I had the conversation with my mum about 3 months ago. I was like, do you know what? I haven't lent money off you for ages. And it was always just like, oh, give us 50 quid till I get paid. And it was always like just a couple of days. But I just used to live on, I'm going to get paid on this day, so I'm going to spend all my money. And then I know that I'll get a top up from my wage on whatever. But yeah, I was just like, I ain't lent money for ages. I'm like, yeah, but I'm 36. So maybe it's good that it's been a couple of years since I've lent money.
I think it is a good thing, but like since COVID, I've had to lend money.
Yeah.
I've had to borrow money. Sorry. Like yesterday, I had to have my alloys changed on my car. I don't really know why. I don't understand it. Terrible lesbian. Don't understand cars.
Who told you that you have to have your alloys changed? The guy at the shop?
Yeah, but he told me dad. He didn't tell me. So he didn't. He wasn't like easy target. Young girl,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell her all this stuff. I got my dad to do it because I've been duped before
Okay.
a few times. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. How much is it? Yeah, I'll pay that. So like, I had to have all these alloys changed, and it were 180 quid. Since COVID, I've lost, I counted £1,100 every month since January. No, March. So I've lost out on quite a bit of money, and so my dad had to pay. But I had no qualms about asking my dad to pay because I knew he would. I knew he's good for it, and I know that I never lend money, like I never borrow money anymore.
Yeah.
But it felt weird because it's like, oh, I'm always so independent. I always pay for my own stuff. I'm like, is it okay? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. Like, he's all right with it. He loves being able to help me out. It's nice for him, I think. My parents have no issues with this. I'm the one with the issue. I'm like, oh, I don't feel nice. But COVID, do you know what I mean? 2020, what are you going to do?
I know. I set some personal goals for this year. And then when lockdown happened, it was just sort of, everything's gone to shit.
Yeah.
And spoke to Joe, and it was just sort of, okay, so you can't achieve the things you wanted to achieve, so why don't you just set some different goals?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, right, so I'm going to buy a house, and I'm going to pass my driving test, because I've only ever had my motorbike.
Yeah.
But now, because of like all this, like I'm hoping to be doing stuff away from here as well. So I've had some quite big organisations say, can you come and do some stuff with us? But it means I'll have to move quite a lot of stuff about. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. So I did a couple of driving lessons, and now I'm ready for my test. You have to ask permission. You have to get in touch with the DVSA and say, hi, please can I do a test? And then they say, can you tell me why you need to do a test during lockdown?
Oh.
So I say, well, I'm a youth worker and I'm getting funded to do work during lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be working with young people across West Yorkshire. So I need to drive about. And then they say, okay, leave it with us. We will let you know whether you're allowed to do a test. So that's where I'm at.
Right.
So I need to get permission to do it. So by the end of the year, the new goals I've set, I'm hoping to have either accomplished or have in place where it's like I'm not going to buy a house by the end of the year, but as long as there's a mortgage that I'm paying off or something like that, then I'll feel like I've achieved something. But there was a really sort of weird time where I was just like, it annoys me that people say it's a sign when things are going well. And then when things go to shit, it's just bad luck. Like, no, you can't pick and choose.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason.
It does. Everything happens for a reason. You've met this girl by not going to Malaysia. You know, you had those sort of feelings at the time you were going to Malaysia, which made you know all these things happen for a reason. And then when she cheats on you and dumps you, and everyone will just be like, oh, it's just bad luck. And you're like, no, it happened for a reason. There's got to be a reason.
There's got to be a reason. But it's so difficult to like... I'm very much like that. I'm very much like, it all happened for a reason, and now I'm going to live happily ever after and everything. But I've got these anxieties. I'm like, oh, what if it doesn't go okay? Like, what happens then?
Yeah. You just start again.
Yeah.
And you sort of learn into I'm not even going to talk about a next relationship because I'm hoping that you get first time lucky. And it is a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, you are punching, so you want to do everything you can to keep her.
You're so fit, isn't she? I couldn't believe it,
I proper hope she's just like, nah, I don't want a relationship. Like, you know...
Why do you want that for me?
Like, eventually. But, like, I just wanted to, like, give you a little bit of discipline because you're too happy. Like, this... I don't like it. Like, you're too happy and
too
girly, and, like, I just feel like you just need, like, a little shocker.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the fact that
I don't know why I did that when I said shocker. I don't know what that was.
My brother does that every time I come home from being at her house. He's like, Good time.
Oh God.
Oh dear. So
Have you? Do you? Can I ask?
I'm not talking about sex.
I was just gonna ask about if scissoring's a real thing.
I don't know. I don't know what the names of these things are.
Okay.
I don't know what.
I'm going to ask you off camera. There's an action I want to do, but I'm not going to do it.
Don't do it.
Okay.
I can't answer sex questions.
Okay.
I'm so new to it, you know. I've read some Cosmo articles. I'm getting there.
Right, you're coming back on in 6 months. But no, it's been brilliant to have you on. I've been trying to get you here for ages, and then when you was moving away, it was sort of like it's not going to happen.
But as soon as I found out I wasn't going away, I got in touch with you straight away because I knew that I wanted to catch up.
Yeah, it has. It's been really nice to see your face. And we will keep in touch because I think with what you're wanting to do, there's people I can introduce you to hopefully help you along the way. I want you to come back and we'll just do some silly stuff. Yeah. Even if we just sort of invite people on and then just abuse them or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you
I
very
have still
much.
got a mean streak, a sarcastic streak.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've just been really soft today. I feel like I've gone off the idea a little bit.
What? The fact that I'm just happy with myself now.
Like
I don't hate the world anymore.
Whingy, sort of fuck everyone.
Man-hating.
Yeah. You've lost that niche now.
Excuse me, I'm a lesbian, so I have some niche.
Well, yeah, I suppose. You are the second coming out lesbian that I've had on though, so you're not even like...
Oh, I'm not even the first one?
No.
Why did you even get me?
You're the first one to throw coffee down yourself and have to wear...
That's enough for me.
Yeah.
You had to butch me up somehow, didn't you?
Well, yeah, that's it. I was going to give you my shorts to wear as well, but I thought it was a step too far.
No, I'll stick with my skirt.
But yeah, really appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome. I've had a great time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. See you soon.